A couple of weeks ago, I pointed out that Jimmy Swaggart and his piano-based band were in the key of F and that their guitar players were capoing the third fret to play easier guitar chords. If you ever watched the movie Hail, Hail, Rock and Roll, Keith Richards talks about the influence of Johnny Johnson, who was Chuck Berry's piano player, on Chuck Berry. And Keith Richards points out that guitarists tend to like to play in the keys of A, D, and E, so you can get ringing open chords. These are open chords. E is an open chord, D, G, A, C. There's no barring. This is an open chord in E. If you put it down a fret and put this finger, it's called a bar chord. You don't get the ringing open strings that you would get with an E. Same thing with, here's an A, an open chord. If you go down half a step, move it down a fret and put a bar across it, you get a B flat. Which it's not, or if you play the B flat here, it's another bar chord. You don't get the good ringing you would get with an open chord like an A. So generally for guitar players, if you look at guitar bands, like for example the Beatles, a lot of their hits were either in G, which is a guitar key, or you had some in D, like We Could Work It Out, or you had some in A, like Help was an A, Day Tripper was an E. All like chords that the main chords have open strings. They weren't doing, I mean, Hey Jude was in F, but that's a piano-based song. That's why it's an F. You don't have an open ringing strings. You would it's a piano chord. That's why. Same thing with the one Beatles song or Beatles solo song. That the main one that was in B flat was Maybe I'm Amazed. It's a great song, but it's a piano song. This is B flat. Those generally are not. You would rather play instead of this and this. You'd rather play open ringing chords. So when I mentioned that they were playing in F, Jimmy Swaggart's a very good, an elite piano player, and his music is fantastic. The instrumentals they play before the services, but he was in F. So F is not. If you're playing in F, you can basically playing like this. But what the acoustic guitarists were doing, instead of playing, they were playing in F, but instead of playing F like that as their main chord, they capoed the third fret and played a D chord fingering. They played a D fingering down the third fret. So they were playing an F chord, but they were playing it like this instead. So they get ringing open strings. Playing stuff like this. So they're playing an F, but that's why a number of them had capoed the acoustic players. I mean, it's easy enough to play bar chords when you're doing like power chords on electric guitar. But for the most part, you like to play in keys like that. Now, Chuck Berry, one of his signature songs was in B flat, Johnny Be Good. That's not a guitar key that most guitarists are going to play in. So, you're not going to want to play rhythm like with a B flat, and then you're playing an E flat, then a B flat, then an F. All those chords are required to be barred. If you notice when the Beatles played Johnny Be Good at the BBC, if you listen to that album, they were playing it in A, so they could play like this. Play open chords. So that's the basic thing when people say it tends to be a piano chord key versus a guitar key. Like for example, one famous song in the key of A, and shows you why people like A. It's all open ringing chords. It was Peggy Sue by Buddy Holly. So he's playing it like, it's fairly simple. There's at one point in the song, I think there's like one F chord briefly, but it's very short. For the most part, you're playing open chords like this. So if you're a guitarist, you like playing open chords. You wouldn't want to have to play that song like this. It doesn't have the ringing of that. So now, what you can do also with capos, if you want, let's say you like fingering around a D chord. You like doing variations of a D chord like this. That's a D chord. You're doing fingerings on that. But let's say you wanted to play it in A. you would capo the 7th fret, and that D would become an A. Because any fingering you do as you go down the guitar, it'll change the key. So if you wanted to play that fingering in A, it would sound like this. So that's Here Comes the Sun by the Beatles. George Harrison played a D chord and variations on it, but he wanted the song in A. So he capoed the 7th fret. So he's playing a D, but that's actually an A chord. This D here is the same chord as this, but it sounds nicer the way he played it. So basically you're gonna wanna play, if you're a guitarist, you wanna play without barring stuff. Like I said, if you're playing rhythm, on an electric guitar, it's easy enough to play power chords like this, but you'd rather, it's nice to have to play like this to get those ringing strings. Now, one other way to do look at the reverse of capoing. Let me switch guitars. Capos allow you to raise the key. So, like I said, if the song's in F and you don't want to play F chords, you can capo the 3rd fret and play it in D, which is what Swaggert's band did that day. Now, the famous song Yesterday by the Beatles, McCartney is playing the song in F. So the first chord he's playing is an F. But F is a cumbersome chord. You have to play a bar chord like this. So what he did, and I tuned this guitar down, he tuned the guitar down 2 steps. So he actually was fingering a G. This is going to sound like an F, but I'm fingering a G. If you listen to the Anthology album, he's telling the band before that, it's on Anthology, he goes, it's in F, but I'm in G. So what he's saying is, it's in F, this is an F, this sounds like an F chord. But it's actually, he's fingering a G. So what he did is he wanted the song in F, but he wanted to be able to do open strings, open chords. So what he did was he tuned his guitar down. So you get to finger a G, which is an easy chord to finger, but it is actually an F. So this is an F. So the main, like I said, F is a chord, you don't really like to strum that in acoustic, but if you tune the guitar down, that's what he did. So he's playing it in F, but he's playing, his chords are G, the key of G chords. Now, interestingly enough, I never understood why Dickie Betts on the song Rambling Man, that's actually in G sharp, but if you watch him play it live, every time I've seen him play it live, he plays it in G. But I still want to know why he did that one in G sharp. So basically, and let me get back to the other guitar. So that's all capos allow you, that's what capos do. They allow you to change the key of a song. So, for example, if you're John Lennon and you're playing like this, you're basically playing C, but if you want to change that into the key of D, you capo the 2nd fret. And that's how he came up with Julia. So that's to keep this short, that's what I meant by that. Instead of having to play F chords, by capoing the 3rd fret, they were able to play D chords, which were easy. So that's a brief introduction to capos, and sometimes why you might see guitarists using them when they're playing a song in a piano key. I hope this helped. Bye-bye.